Good afternoon and welcome to the Free West Media channel. If you haven't done so before, please subscribe to the channel and also click on the bell button. Well, this afternoon I'm privileged to be speaking to I suppose I could call her an up-and-coming Swedish politician, Yvonne Lindholm. She's been involved in the Alternativ för Sverige party in Sweden. I've also met her personally in Stockholm, and it's a great pleasure to be talking to you, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, here in Sweden. Nice to see you again, Dan.
Yes.
Was it a year ago you were in Sweden?
I think it was about 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago?
No, I think you're right. It was a year ago.
1 year ago, yeah.
Yes, that's right. Because I always get confused. I went late at the end of last year. I went to France, so it kind of all blurred a little bit. So yes, it was a year ago. It was great. It was my first summer in Sweden, and I attended the summer celebrations and all of that.
And you got to celebrate your first midsummer, our biggest holiday in Sweden.
Yes, I did the midsummer. It was a great event, and I really enjoyed it. It was excellent. I would love to do it again sometime.
Yeah, we must do it again. It was very funny.
Yes. So, today we're going to talk a little bit about your involvement in politics and your party. So how did you get involved in politics? Have you always been involved in politics, or is it quite a recent thing?
No, I would say it started about in the beginning of 2000, a little light, when you started to make changes in our society. But I wasn't active or anything like that. Because Sweden at this point were still okay. It was not so bad as it is today. So you can say around 2004-05, I started to get annoyed by the mainstream media when they published something bad who had happened. They didn't call out who it was, or pickles the pictures from the person who did this. So I started to read alternative media.
Okay, so when crimes are committed in Sweden, they don't tell you the names, they don't tell you the ethnic background.
No. So it's very hard to get these bad people because the police won't go out with signalement. So I started to compare the news from alternative media and the mainstream media, and get more and more angry because they hold back on the truth, mainstream media. So 2007, I joined the Swedish Democrat as a member only, but still I went over to that party. For that time in Sweden, it was the only political party that did something for the Swedes and said no to immigration and everything. So 2007, I was a member. And then it was a couple of years again that passed. And then 2013, both me and my husband was political activist in the Swedish Democrats. And we was working where we live in our county, locally, for these questions that the Swedish Democrats were following. And after a while, we were there for three years and was very active, and we get a lot of new members. It was a fun time also, but then the fight in the party begins, who has this position, and so in the end it was no politics, it just meant something what position you had in this little local community. So I left Swedish Democrats 2018, and yeah.
And then you formed a new party, the Alternative for Sweden. Am I
Well,
right?
Gustav Kasselstrand, our party leader, was earlier the leader of the youth union in the Swedish Democrat, but they were thrown out, the whole youth union, from the Swedish Democrats.
There was a young lady as well. I forget her name now, and she was
Yes,
also quite active.
yeah, Jessica Olsson.
That's right. That's her.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Gustav Kasselstrand, Jessica Olsson, William Hane, and Adam Berg was for young people who had fought for Sweden in Swedish Democrats Youth Union. But they decided after that, they have been kicked out of the party, to start a new party, Alternative for Sweden. So
okay. And why were they
was,
kicked out? Was it because certain positions they took and things that they said?
yes, and they didn't like, the Swedish Democrats started to follow the mainstream politics with to get some more voters. So they didn't want to be so aggressive anymore with the headlines and their posters and what they say. So I think that was one reason, but I'm not so sure, because I wasn't in the youth union. So I, as you understand, so I don't know exactly what happened there. But anyway, after that, when they started up the new party, I was asked if I wanted to join. And of course I said yes, because I still want to fight for Sweden and for the future of our country.
How big a problem is immigration in Sweden at the moment? You said up until about 2000, things were more or less normal, and after that, it started to deteriorate.
Well, we have enormous problem today. I mean, I'm born in 1966. So when I grew up, it was, you can go out in Stockholm alone as a girl when you were out partying, or you can leave your bicycle by the door. It was a very trustfully society, that people helped each other. They didn't, and violence, it was no violence at all. Swedes are very peaceful people, so I have seen this nightmare grow in my life, and many people that are in my age or older have seen how the old Sweden is now gone, and we really must do something about that, political.
Yeah, maybe just for the viewers, I can just tell you that I think the annual number of people who get murdered in Sweden are probably about 60. That's about as many people who get murdered in a place like South Africa in one suburb in 1 year. And that's for the whole country in Sweden. Many US cities also have about that number of murders in a single city. So it is I think it was a very peaceful and law-abiding society before this big change came with the immigration.
No, but this infected all our society, because it costs a lot of money, so you have to cut down on our elderly people, and our daycare for children, our schools, healthcare, everything that Swedes are paying taxes for, they must cut down on, because save money to help people that are not supposed to be in this country. A lot of them are not supposed to be in this country.
And they get free housing and free healthcare. Free everything. And they get monthly allowances as well.
Yeah. So I understand that these people want to come to Sweden, because that's the government signal out to the world, come here, we are a rich country. But we are not a rich country. We have so many debts that we have to restore, to uphold this migration. It costs so much money, and they make up new taxes every year to us that works Swedes. So basically, pay taxes and shut up, because we want this monoculture society.
A multicultural society, yes, and in Swedish it's mångkultur.
Yeah.
Not so. Now, is it possible for very different peoples and cultures to coexist within the same country or the same social or legal system, in your view?
Yes, it's possible if you're very similar, like people, like the North people, like Norwegians and Danish people and so on, Finnish people. I mean, it's no problem. I mean, in Europe,
so you would
it's
say
no
Nordic people, like Danes and Swedes.
Yes, I mean, we understand each other when we talk. We are from the same roots. Our system is not different by laws and regulations and so on. It's the same people, you almost can say, but then we have some different traditions when it comes to certain things you want to celebrate and so on. But in from the ground you have the same people. So yes, if you have immigrations from Norway and so on, it's no problem, because we are so much alike.
But now you've got immigrants from the Middle East, from Arab countries, from Africa, and how do you cope with that?
Well, this has been going on for quite some decades now, that our governments has done this, taken in people. But we have been so many Swedes, so they haven't been able to get their will like a minority in Sweden, because the most people are Swedish. So, but now we have so much people here from different countries, and everybody wants to do, they don't want to adapt to our rules and our way of life and our laws. So of course it doesn't work. I would say inside Europe it's no problem. Also, the European countries, Italy, England, it's no problem if they are coming to Sweden either. We still are so similar, and we are Christians countries. I think that's one thing. Yes, Sweden has enormous problem because of this immigration politics that Sweden has had for a very long time.
Now, you mentioned that your party is in favor of sending the migrants or the immigrants back to their home countries. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, you can say our biggest question in Alternative for Sweden is in our political program, because that's the only way we think we can save Sweden to be Swedish in the future. And I'm not talking about in 2 years. This is going to take a very long time. And to start to make a change, you must get out of EU. That's the first, so we can make up our own laws. Because now we are obeying laws that is done in EU from people we don't know who they are. And we have not elected these people who are sitting and decide our future. So we want to take back our national state and borders so we can make our own decisions, what's best for our country. And then we have the most important question, because the Swedish people doesn't give birth to so many children as the foreigner who has come here does. So it's just simple mathematics. I mean, 8 children in one family and a Swedish family, 2 children. How many years does it take before the Swedes are a minority in their own country?
Yeah, I saw the other day that apparently it's going to take just over 40 years for you to become a minority in your own country.
Yeah, if they continue to take in new. But our most important point is that to return migration home to their home countries. And you have illegal immigrants. We don't know how many. It may be more than 100,000 that not are registered in our systems. And some of them commit crimes. And you have other people that doesn't respect our law or way of living and how women lives in Western societies. They have no place here in Sweden because it's too much different cultures. So all these people that doesn't accept our country and our laws and our way of living, we really have a plan to send back home.
And in practice, how do you see that working? Would you pay them a certain amount of money to just send them back, or would you buy them plane tickets, or in practice, how would it work?
Obviously, you have to change the laws, but because the laws today are made in that way that you can say if you have a murderer here in Sweden that you can't send him out because of international rules that we have signed up for. So every one of these agreements Sweden has signed up for, and changing the law is one step to do this. And for us, like I told you, our plan is many, many years ahead because it's so much resistant to this thinking, but we are growing as a party. So I would say change the law, leave different international conventions when we can decide for this by ourselves. And we're already sending people home today. We have these laws, but it's so few people that really go out from this country by force. So you really have to, and obviously we can also think about if people want to leave Sweden, that we can help them financially, because that's a much lesser cost than to have the families and their relatives here and pay for them. So of course, you can think about different ways how to solve this. But the important thing is that we must have the police who is in charge, the police department in Sweden. And they can take help from guards that they can rent in, or the military, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of possibility you can do if you really want to. Because we need to send people back home, especially people that are here illegal, commit crimes, and so on. That's the first one who should leave.
Exactly. I saw a newspaper report about some criminal, I think he was convicted of rape or murder, something like that in Sweden. And then the state prosecutor asked for him to be deported after serving his sentence in Sweden. And then the judge said, no, but he knows some Swedish, so that gives him a bond with Sweden, so he shouldn't be deported. You know,
No.
how can you?
No, but you can say that our society, I think, maybe we can talk about that later with the left wings in Sweden and how they have been working their way for decades.
I suppose that would be a
silence.
whole interview in itself, just how the leftists took over Swedish society and
No,
media.
but shortly you can say that they have infiltrated media, our schools, teachers, and so on. Now in the police and the military. So they are everywhere, and everybody who doesn't think or say like them are racist or Nazist or fascists, even though we are just ordinary Swedish people that are very, very worried about our children and grandchildren's future in this country. But like you said, you can talk a program, how they have been working for so long, and and I must say they have been successful because they have the media, they can control how people should think, and so on. But our moment is rising now because the alternative media is getting bigger, and the worse it gets in Sweden, the more people wake up. So I'm hopeful, I must say.
So would you say there is now an alternative movement in Sweden and more of a swing towards realistic or common sense alternatives, or even a swing to the right in Sweden?
Yes, I would say national, that people are getting more national. This is our country, it's our flag. I think it comes pretty normal when you are under attack, when you can lose something that you took for granted, then it gets very important. And I feel that when we Alternative for Sweden, we are just still a very young party, but I think we get a lot of people. In August we had the largest memberships incoming for it was amazing. So people in Sweden are afraid because it shoots, you had explosions, knife stabbing, rapes, your children get abused in school. It's really getting into the Swedes now. It doesn't matter where you live anymore. You can't hide from it. So I think it's going in the right way, but I think we have next election is 2022. So
and do you think you'll be able to get into the parliament in 2022? Because I think you need 5%. There's a threshold of 5%, not so.
4% to get
4%.
into. Yeah.
In order to get into parliament.
Into parliament, yes. And we have done 2 elections during our short time for 2 years. The first was in 2018, the general election to get in, but we got 0.31%, and we were the TV news didn't want to take us in for interviews like they do with other new parties, because they wanted to push us back. So it wasn't so many people that knew that we existed. And during the EU election in 2019, we increased to 0.46%. And now we had an, what do you call it? When they ask people.
An opinion poll.
Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Then we had grown pretty much to over 1%. So we keep on growing. You more people know about us and what we have to say in Alternative for Sweden. So that's positive.
So you are hopeful for the future to save Sweden?
Yes, I really am, because I see we have some young boys that goes to school. They have that is in our party, and they go out in the schools to try to spread our party. And it's a lot of young Swedish boys that are interested. Unfortunately, the girls has been led by some feminist teachers all the way from kindergarten. So, but it's a really joy to see these Swedish young men. They get it because they is brought up with this monoculture society. They don't know anything about how Sweden used to be. So that's very positive.
Okay, well, great. That sounds excellent. Well, thank you very much, Yvonne, for this interesting discussion, and I'm sure we can have another one. Yeah, on the great march through all the institutions that the left has effected in Sweden, taking over everything and turning what used to be quite a nationalist country into a left-wing kind of a citadel of the left.
Yeah.
Well,
And you have been here, you have seen Sweden and the people that still is very nice, very kind people and very generous. But they are so misguided because of the left media and our governments. So, but this is a new era, new parties. So I'm full of, I'm looking for the future with very optimistic eyes.
Well, great. On that note, then, to our viewers, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and we'll have lots more interviews coming up with European movements and politicians, as well as from the USA. Thank you for watching, and thank you for the interview, Yvonne.
Thank you, Dan. It was very nice.